one thing we want to say, this is not about selling you guys on one particular methodology. There's a lot of different change management methodologies out there. Full disclosure, Kolme Group has pretty much subscribed to one, and we'll talk about that one a bit, but we're not trying to get you to sign up for that. That's not what this is about. The idea really is that just like with my example of the business analysis challenge, if you're just winging it, you're probably not going to be as successful as you would be if you had a methodology. It doesn't matter which methodology, pick one, get good at it. And that's just going to give you another tool in that toolbox. So let's talk about a couple of methodologies. We're going to go way back in the Wayback Machine here with Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin was a psychologist. He worked on change processes in the 1940s, actually. And he came up with his Lewin's change model. I guess he was, he wasn't too humble. He named it after himself. That's okay. But what he figured out, and I think that this holds true today, is that people really aren't ready for change just right out of the blocks, right? That something has to happen. So he used an analogy. I like analogies, so we'll use his. He talked about if you have a block of ice, and he said, if you want to reshape this block of ice into any other shape, a sphere, a cone, whatever, without changing the mass of it, you can't just chisel away at that because that would reduce the size of the block of ice. What do you have to do to change it? Well, you got to do three things. First, you have to unfreeze it because a block of ice, it's frozen. Then you have to change it when it's in a state where it's ready for change. And then you've got to refreeze it. So unfreeze, change, and refreeze. He said that analogy applies to people. People are in this state where they're very resistant to change, as we know, and they aren't really ready or open to change. So we have to move them from that state into a readiness phase. And he had several ways of doing that. If you want to, you can do a little research on Mr. Lewin. But essentially what he said is that once we get people into this sort of mindset where they're accepting and open to change, then we can start doing things that will help them embrace the change. Finally, though, once that change is in place, we got to refreeze them. We got to get them out of that mindset of, hey, I'm ready for change, because now we've got to get them back into a this is the way that we do things now mentality.